Good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Reed Option, and here I am with Cole himself. We're doing a duo commentary here for the league's end-of-season All-Star game. Looks like we've got a pretty Pacific-favored matchup. Not sure how this game's going to turn out. What's your assessment on this one, Cole?
Well, I mean, if we look at last year, right, the Pacific won the championship, and I believe the Atlantic won it. So I think this year with the Atlantic winning it, the Pacific might try to, have their end-of-season game to win it, if you would. I mean, I think outside of whatever Joe is on out there with a blowout, I think it'll be pretty close. I'm leaning more towards Danny, if I'm being honest. I think Danny's got it on the nose, an 8-point game, maybe someone, drives down in the last second. Or maybe Dave. I expect a close game. I expect, hopefully, lots of completed passes and lots of runs. Hopefully we see another Kreutzer-type sighting where another face of the franchise can show up. And, I think as far as that goes, I will take the Pacific.
I'd have to agree there. Can't argue with the talent that they are sporting here. Jalen Washington, Ricky Chambers, and DeMonte Michaels all, I believe, slightly have the edge over their counterparts at their respective positions. And that's just touching the tip of the iceberg. With the rosters of these two teams, we're mostly going to be seeing one quarterback per side, but the substitutions are not only encouraged, they are promoted. And you're going to be seeing a lot of substitutions here today. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw another Wildcat formation pop up here in this game. So, just coming into this thing, Pacific getting the ball first. Nate the Great Gilroy with the kickoff, him being the Pro Bowl kicker for the Atlantic All-Stars once again. Taking it to the way back of the end zone. But I do agree. I hope we see some completed passes. The passing game, especially in Axis 24, this season of the NAGA has been lackluster a lot of the time.
Absolutely, especially with some of the defensive players that we've seen in the league.
Chambers getting that first handoff up to the right. Michael Wells on the tackle. We see some immediate substitutions with David Owolabi and Ramon Gooden.
Trying to get that game check, it seems like, on the defensive side, too.
Yeah. Washington dropping back to pass for the first time. Him and Gooden kind of doing a little tandem run there. Putting his life on the line as Sharif Wilson comes up with the tackle. Getting subbed out promptly after that second down.
They have a bit of history from the conference championship game, so I wouldn't expect too much chemistry between the running back and quarterback this time.
Yeah, definitely, this is after everything is said and done. Players are encouraged to be competitive, but also, let's not bump heads with our fellow teammates. But there is no ignoring the history and the rivalries that are between some of these teams that are now lined up on the same side of the battlefield today.
I want to point out, as we look at this Jalen Washington performance, the absolute sideline missile that he sent for 13 yards.
Yeah, Washington, although he kind of dropped the ball, so to say, in the championship, he is still one of the best quarterbacks in this league, and I'm sure he's trying to prove himself here today. Nice 11-yard completion to Terrence Carroll, who will be bumped down the depth chart for Devin Brooks. A lot of movement there on the defensive side for substitutions as well. We will see a lot of the people with the same numbers. Washington will take it for himself up the middle. Another display of quarterback running. A lot of people moving in and out still. Something I want to point out is that every team in the NAGA has at least one representative here in the All-Star game to showcase their skills, which I think is a testament to league parity, which has been in doubt given that there have been consecutive two of the same championship teams the past two seasons. But let it be known that as far as stats goes and as far as talent goes, that is still very spread league-wide.
Absolutely, especially with some of the talent that's popped up in the free agency cycle. I mean, some of the teams that normally wouldn't have a Pro Bowler wound up buying a Pro Bowler, and here they are today.
Indeed. Washington with the little screen pass to Austin on the comeback route. Nice tackle for loss. First one today. Stephen Dunn getting credited with that.
I respect the comeback, but I think we all know how B.J. Austin's career had ended towards the end there. Ooh.
What a swat down by whoever was guarding the receiver there. Didn't quite get a good look at his number, but we'll see our first points on the board potentially from Jack Tomlinson. And straight through the middle and good. 37 yards out.
I do want to point out for all of those who are watching, we are in one of the newer, more renovated stadiums. This is a more of a premier stadium, if you would. Probably not going to be the status quo going forward unless we really get a high budget, but this is hopefully the future Pro Bowl home of the NAGA.
Yes, indeed. We do love our sites here in LA. This brand new stadium in Axis 24 is quite the spectacle to behold. The Atlantic team now taking their first possession from the 17-yard line. MVP candidate Marquise Collins in the backfield. He'll get a handoff up to the left side, work his way inwards, and will be tackled by Leonard Shattuck before he can get a first.
I'm enjoying a lot of these running backs lowering the shoulder, not being afraid to take the hit and gain yards. Something a lot of teams could definitely learn from when drafting running backs.
Yeah, and it seems like that's kind of leaked into a lot of professional sports. A lot of people afraid to take hits, such as that one. Wagner, Marquise Spurlock, sacking him for loss of 9. As Marquise Collins gets subbed back in. Yeah, we are witnessing some men who are not afraid to get dirty and get hurt. Clemens with the snag. 31 yards down the field, but Malcolm Braxton must have set a pick on the play. And third and forever awaits the Atlantic All-Stars. Wagner 0 for 0.
Wow. It's unfortunate. Sometimes you almost wish there were no penalties for the Pro Bowl, but someone's got to pay these refs. Oh.
And a safety in the Pro Bowl, courtesy of Javion Featherston. And not only will the Pacific All-Stars add to their score, they will get the ball back.
Yeah, I think the path that San Antonio torched on their way to the championship definitely upset a lot of these Pacific players. I don't think I've seen explosiveness off the ball since the championship game, with Virginia Beach's defense just absolutely lighting up the backs and offensive line.
Indeed, and it's not like these offensive linemen are slouches, as Mike Steele likes to say. Jason Traynor, Adrian Ross, Riley Chaffin, Leon Townsend, and Dwayne Jones, the starting front five. Some of the best offensive linemen from the best offenses in the league, with Alex Walsh, Dylan Keenan, and Josh Kane to back him up. All of these names protecting the Atlantic quarterbacks, and yet none of them could stop Featherston.
I would definitely add my 2 cents as well, that I think in the NAGA, some of these linebackers, they're almost defensive ends converted to play a linebacker position for some of these teams, and that's why they're able to beat the ball, beat the pass protector off the ball, as, of course, we watched that incomplete pass.
Yeah, with all the time in the world, you know, Jalen Washington, some of these defensive ends and linebackers just not being able to break through to him, yet it just wasn't connecting. I think the defensive back core for the Atlantic All-Stars is really stepping up in the absence of a dominating linebacker and defensive line force so far. Wagner straight across the middle to Hayward. That is second string fullback Bryce Hayward. Looked like he might have been playing a tight end position there, and Josiah Bell will sub in for him. Marquise Collins shedding a man. Brought down by number 6. That was Gabriel White.
I'm definitely interested to see how these defensive substitutions assist. The last time we saw that from the Atlantic, the Pacific walked down and scored 3.
Straight in and out of the hands of the wide receiver. Did not see who that was, but none of these guys should be dropping passes. These should all be defended. I believe that was Braxton on the target. Wagner with plenty of time down the middle to Clemens. 23-yard gain, and they will not call that one back from a penalty. And the Atlantic All-Stars are finally within the 30-yard line, looking to put points on the board.
I'm sure there's a nice game check waiting for him for catching a pass in the Pro Bowl.
Wagner deciding to scramble, running, and getting the first. Gain of 12 from Paul Wagner. Not a man you typically see turn on the Jets.
Mobility for quarterbacks is definitely something that a lot of owners are going to be looking into this next season. There's a lot of the sacks that came in, ended a lot of games. Wagner once again taking off.
Looks like Wagner's getting a little cocky there. And Jalen Weathers will be subbed in for Paul Wagner. Speaking of mobile quarterbacks.
Almost the most mobile.
He'll pitch it to his best friend, Marquise Collins, as the first quarter comes to a close. 5-0. Quite the baseball or soccer score we have here in the All-Star game.
You could have given me a million chances. I would have never guessed 5-0. I'm not going to lie to you.
It's definitely one of the more unusual scores. Hand off to Rakeem Cannon, the fullback for the Raleigh Royals. And Weathers is still staying in the game. Looks like Wagner tired himself out. He said, tap in. And Marquise Collins on the left side, spin move, trying to reach forward, will not get it. Cameron Galbraith on the stop, and Eric Walker will come in for Marquise Collins. Josiah Bell playing a fullback role right now.
It'd be one of those situations where the linebackers from the Pacific either step up or they let a touchdown up.
And McDonough is there to make sure it doesn't happen. And Nate the Great Gilroy will likely come out and attempt a field goal here from the left hash. Nice little cakewalk of a field goal, 18 yards. Not often you see that. Wouldn't have been surprised if they decided to run a QB sneak there with Weathers.
Especially with how great Nate's leg is. I mean, 18 yards, it's easy for him.
I imagine he probably closed his eyes. We don't have a helmet cam. Might have done it with his opposite leg.
I could almost imagine him going backwards at it. That's how talented he is. He could just probably kick that thing up from behind.
Do a little trick shot here in the All-Star game. Good and 8 yards. None of these All-Stars able to stop him. Michael Wells and Wayne McMaster both being subbed out after, I imagine, exhausting themselves trying to tackle Ramon Gooden.
This is one of the scariest backfields in the league, and it's from all across the league, and you're seeing why.
B.J. Austin on a little dump-off pass. Great stop by Adrian Gordon as Ricky Chambers finds his way back into the rotation. Play action down the middle to Thompson. No favoritism here. Tight end Dwayne Thompson getting a catch from his quarterback, being subbed out now for Joseph Meister. Washington once again, but this time under pressure. Sacked for a loss of 5, Sean Westbrook.
And I am 95% positive that was Michael Kirkland who got absolutely mauled on that play, letting up the sack.
Washington on second and forever, deciding to throw to Gooden for a loss of 5. Elijah Jennings coming up on the stop.
They had a defender out there to push the block out, and he simply let him go, and Gooden got destroyed to the outside boundary, so now it's a pass situation.
This gives Washington a great opportunity to heave it deep to Terrence Carroll. Former NAGA champion Terrence Carroll, the old man, getting the 20-plus yard reception for the first.
He reminds me of a Jerry Rice once he hit 40. I'm telling you, this man could go forever.
Oh, yeah, we might see him in some strange uniforms, too. How many teams did Jerry Rice play on before he ended up retiring, you know? I think he was a Titan and a Seahawk and a Raider. I don't even know.
Well, if you can find perfect value, the Austin owner might be able to sell this guy for at least a second-round pick with all the high talent he's got left in the tank.
Absolutely. And Washington trying to find another one of his talented receivers. That is Boone on the reception. Boone, the Salt Lake City wide receiver. One of the 3 Salt Lake City Cougars that made it to the Pro Bowl. Joseph Meister and Gabriel White, the other 2. Great first down there. Kevin Boone. And Washington will rush up the middle. 9-yard gain, not quite a first. I believe that was Raymond Brooks on the stop.
This is definitely not the lineup you want to see. The San Antonio fullback and running back on a 2nd and 1. That is the most terrifying lineup.
And Washington will elect to not use them and give it back to the old man, Terrence Carroll. Kind of an aversion, like you were saying, one of the scariest things you can see in the backfield. And he decides to go, made you look, and give it to Terrence Carroll once again, this time using Gooden. Touchdown! And the San Antonio running back will put Pacific up by 9 points following this point after by Jack Tomlinson. What a phenomenal run from a phenomenal running back, Ramon Gooden.
And you can see how much the league really respects that backfield, as on that fake out run, they did an engage 8, full blitz, not realizing Terrence Carroll is on the opposite side of that field by the time they snapped the ball.
They were really cooking up a clinic there on that drive. Would not be surprised if that's how this game script goes, as McKittrick losing the Atlantic All-Stars, the hidden yardage battle, only making it up to the 18-yard line.
That's definitely going to hurt him in the long run, as they have to travel a lot more yardage now.
And the Atlantic All-Stars now taking a note out of the Pacific playbook and keeping in their quarterback that has the chemistry with a lot of these All-Stars. Weathers to Collins on first down. Play action on second. Attempted for Eric Walker. Incomplete, as that one was broken up.
Definitely not a Weathers type of game that he's accustomed to, but you got to also realize the amount of defenders opposing him across that line are literally some of the best.
Yeah, and it looked like, speaking of the best, Matt McDonough putting his full weight on the back of Marquise Collins. I expect him to be out a few snaps after that tackle. Weathers, after motioning, Walker looks deep left. Caught by Clemens, and he burns him for the touchdown. 71 yards. The Brooklyn Bandits getting the Atlantic All-Stars back in this game, and Gilroy will make it a 2-point deficit.
And unfortunately for number 7, as I am unable to find him right now, whoever that was, that is going to be a big moment for the Pacific defense to just look back on and go, hey, you got one-on-one coverage. The least you can do is throw your body at him while he catches it. Don't just stand there.
Yeah, I'm sure whoever is the team that he belongs to, I'm sure the ownership there is looking at his salary and making sure they don't raise it up any higher than it is.
They're definitely going to be looking at that. Probably inspecting it a little bit just to make sure, hey, can we drop it a little bit after that play? You let up a big touchdown. This is a pretty important game for you contract-wise.
For sure. You know, this game, it's a display of talents. It's also a display of who can make the big plays against the big guns. And speaking of big guns, there is Michael Gentry for the Atlantic side. Another Brooklyn Bandit making a huge play. 3rd down and 10. Gooden to the left, no dice. The Atlantic All-Stars will call another timeout, hoping to potentially put 3 more points on the board before the half.
And this is during the 2-minute warnings. Well, obviously, as we know, OCs they're going to love to call a lot of pass plays, but if the Atlantic can just run the ball, they might have a chance to get down, score a field goal or a touchdown, and get some early momentum heading into the second half.
Indeed, and with Weathers under center, who knows what we're going to get. You know, he's very hit or miss quarterback historically through this season, and that's a hit to David Bechtel, the St. Louis Shark. Seeing some blood in the water, flipping sides of the field.
The Albuquerque Tyler Green having to sub out after that major hit stick on him once he got the ball.
I believe that was Matt McDonough on the deflection. Tyler Green coming back in for Darius Whitley, hoping to make some big stops here around midfield. Weathers looking to his right, one-on-one. Braxton, gain of 26 yards, and I am shocked that the Atlantic All-Stars have not burned their final timeout. But I imagine they're trying to leave as few seconds as possible for the Pacific All-Stars, who have all 3 of theirs. Weathers to the left, some separation between James Murray and everybody else.
And you'll notice how every time they burn a DB pretty bad, the Pacific makes sure to sub that player out almost immediately.
Yeah, it's almost as if to say, all right, let's get the guys who are on the starting roster back in here. Barrett Galbraith making a huge play there, representing the Orlando Flames. But that leaves the Pacific All-Stars with 3 timeouts and 54 seconds to go. So I would not be shocked, as this game is already looking like it's going to run up the score if we see another touchdown here.
I do think the Atlantic has realized the talent they have at the tight end position. I mean, Bechtel and then Barrett. I mean, it's just an absolute clinic on that passing side of the ball.
You could say that again, and I mean, these guys have come to play today. Washington on the passing front to Gooden. That's something that they can use to their advantage. The fact that there's all these huge names here. I mean, everyone is a huge threat. So all those wide receivers booking it deep. Give it to the running back underneath. Slightly overthrew his man there, but the clock will stop.
And as you said, I mean, once they can get all those wide receivers out, then you look in the backfield and, all of a sudden, it's the most underrated pass-catching running back in the Pacific.
What a swat on that play. Some man coverage. And the Pacific All-Stars will now have a 3rd down situation. Washington just under 100 yards on the game. Brooks in motion, the handoff to Gooden. Putting their trust in Gooden on 3rd and 10. Getting 5 yards on the play, but boy did he fight for it. I think he broke at least 2 tackles there before he could finally be brought down.
2 tackles, 4 defenders, about 2 blockers who missed both their assignments. Really hard to get the yardage you need.
Speaking of San Antonio fighters who are making big plays, that punt by Zach McQueen pinning the Atlantic All-Stars in another potential safety situation. Let's see what happens here. Weathers to his left. Looked like he was in slight double coverage, but he might have had his man. I think that the tight end dropped it there. 2nd down. Weathers under pressure. McDonough. And will it be a safety? It won't. It's on the inch line. What a play that would have been. And I think that the refs might have given them some mercy on that one. Collins trying to fight for it. And that will be the end of the first half. And we'll go ahead and hop right into the second half. What a ending to the first half with that McDonough. I think it was a safety. I don't like the call that they made. But then again, you know, all that's for stake here is bragging rights. But you got to give that man credit, you know. McDonough, former MVP, Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, he's likely to run some repeats on those awards this season, too. Collins putting on an athletic performance before being brought down by the man himself. A lot of substitutions there.
I was definitely going to add to that as well, but I was waiting for what that play was going to perform as. I think that reminded me of that Patrick Mahomes uncalled safety in the back of the end zone. Can't remember which team it was, but he simply outstretched his hand and then let go of the ball, and the ref said, "That's down at the 0, guys, not a safety."
Yeah, a little bit of ref ball might be happening, you know, a little bit of, you know, feeling sorry that you don't want a team to let up 2 safeties in a game. But Clemens, needing no mercy or anything, Clemens gaining 27 on that reception. 122 yards for Samuel Clemens on 3 receptions. That is an all-star game stat line, if I've ever seen one.
It seems like every player has at least one Kreutzer in their career. So basically Pro Bowl-wise, right? In the Pro Bowl's time, we have one Kreutzer. The 122-yard performance, the Kreutzer Magic Mahomes performance. Oh my gosh.
Huge sack on Weathers by Braylon Myers. Following the tackle for loss from Kenny Montgomery, this defensive unit, borderline unstoppable on the front end. Weathers testing out the defensive backs. Little miscommunication there. And we will have the punting unit come out as Michael DeLuca will look to pin the Pacific All-Stars deep. Got a little confused there with the
amount of players we've been calling out for Pacific. It might as well be the San Antonio Fighters.
The San Antonio Fighters versus, I mean, a good mix of the Memphis Liberty and the Orlando Flames. DeLuca and Orlando Flame trying to punt it a little weak. Will they down it? I think they will. It's at the 1.
Wow, and that is definitely something that all these punters have been enjoying during the Pro Bowl, having the fast gunners gunning it down the sideline, pinning it down where they need it.
2 very different strategies with the same results. McQueen just pinning him on the sideline. DeLuca letting his gunners speak for him. And that first down not resulting in a safety, as this running back core is going to show what they're made of. Austin to the right, breaking a tackle, getting the first down, gets his legs swept out from beneath him by what I believe was McMaster.
That was an absolute brutal hip tackle. I mean, my goodness, I wouldn't be shocked if he's out for a couple more series.
Lucky for him, he's got Ramon Gooden to back him up. Gooden, at least 20 yards.
Oh my
35-yard gain. David Owolabi stopping him before he could get the touchdown. And Ricky Chambers will come in now to relieve both Austin and Gooden. Washington, before he could get sacked, looking deep downfield. I believe that was for the tight end. Incomplete.
It's unfortunate he gave up on that route too late. Calabrese with the key block to prevent the sack at the last second, and he unfortunately gave up thinking it was over.
Washington breaking a sack, running behind his offensive lineman. No gain, but what a play. Gentry on the stop, and Joseph Abatangelo, the Milwaukee Bee rookie sensation, coming in for the Pacific All-Stars. And he'll ditch it to Austin. Gain of 14 on 3rd and 9, and the chains will keep going. But unlike the Atlantic All-Stars, they'll take Abatangelo right back out after that completion. That's all he needed to say.
The rookie showed a bit too much flash for the veterans.
They were like, all right, you got a few more ahead of you, you know. We're trying to enjoy our time while we've got it. Ryan Walton on the bench is just enjoying being a water boy.
Absolutely. The amount of money that these players get just to even show up, just to make sure that they show up to the Pro Bowl. Not on the books officially, but man, just being a water boy third string, it's lovely.
Amani Garrison with a first-time appearance. Speaking of water boys, Brendan Paul coming in, backup fullback this time, the starting fullback for the Columbus Senators. A lot of guys that have been... Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry about that. As you notice, they put both fullbacks on the flank. They put Calabrese and the backup fullback on the wide side for the field goal.
You know, a lot of interesting sub formations that we've been seeing today, and a lot of guys that are just now seeing some playing time. Of course, the Albuquerque River Monsters would have had their fullback Whetstone come here with Calabrese if not for his late season injury. One of the very few all-star candidates that ended up getting his ticket, you know, refunded due to, wait a second, Josiah Bell, 27 yards after that hurdle. Cut myself off mid-tangent. What a play.
Pacific saw that one athletic play and they said, get Tim Jensen in there. This man knows how to stop athletes.
And Marquise Collins will be stopped, not by Jensen, but by another fighter, Matt McDonough. A typical tackle for loss, and Xavier Sheffield will come into the game. Another man we haven't seen all game, the Delaware Pioneer. Not getting negative yardage, but not positive. Jordan Ellis with the stop.
The one thing you'll notice when they have a lot of San Antonio players on here is the rallying, the pushing to other players. It's not exactly the sexiest of plays, but it works very well, especially in a Pro Bowl situation where everyone you face is literally at the top of their game.
And all of these studs on the defense have caused the Atlantic All-Stars to once again revert to Michael DeLuca's punting, and we will actually have a return here from Elijah Lockett.
Oh my goodness, that massive block just absolute pancake to the ground. One block away from a potential punt return touchdown.
Pacific All-Stars now taking it from their own 23. Looks like Carroll in motion, but the pitch to the other number one, Gooden, breaking a plethora of tackles. Stopped by Wayne McMaster, who's just been all over this offense. When these linebackers and defensive linemen have been failing to make the tackles, be sure to rely on Wayne McMaster. Washington with the deep haul. Incomplete. I believe that was intended for Fowler. Or Brooks, my bad. Yeah, Fowler's number 2, Brooks number 7.
A lot of players, lots of teams.
For sure. Austin, gain of 8 won't be enough. 4th and 1, and it'll be punt after punt. McQueen with what I think is his second punt of the day, or third punt of the day. Brooks with the return, and no one is there to protect him. Carroll stopping him at the 25.
I don't know what was scarier, the fact that they were going to punt it and he got blown up, or the fact that McDonough was not but 15 yards out away from that.
Weathers the handoff to Collins. He only gained 4, and I believe that will usher us into the 4th quarter. And it will. 17-15 Atlantic All-Stars, still anyone's game.
This has the feeling of a 1 turnover potential for whoever turns it over is going to lose this game. Very exciting.
Weathers looking deep to his right. Almost picked off, but Marcellus Walker gains 21 on the play. Marcellus Walker, the yards after catch king this season. I think he had unprecedented yards after catch numbers, showing us why on that play right there. Collins weaving in and out, only gaining 6 for his efforts as Walker will get subbed back in. Play action, Weathers looking to Braxton, who gains 4 and gets a first.
That is one of those first downs where they mark it, and if you review it, it can go either way. Whichever the first call was, they're going to rely on that one.
Barrett Galbraith hurdling a man. Gain of 37. I was going to make a remark about that one instance where a playing card, like an index card, was brought out for the chain gang to see if the ball was a first down or not. And I think at that point, you might as well give them the first. Marquise Collins pushing forward to give the Atlantic All-Stars a much-desired lead early in the fourth. As Nate the Great, as he is so often called, kicks it over the netting.
This is definitely one of those fun situations where you now watch what will an all-pro offense do down by 9. Are they going to simply go for a field goal position? Or are they going to go all out, pull-out plays they've not done since the first half? Or are we going to be shocked by them just going 3-0?
In my humble opinion, they need to bring back in Joseph Abatangelo. That one play he was in was a very successful play. I think Washington's getting a little tired and is starting to hog the ball a bit as he's only feeding the Columbus Senators players on this drive so far. Dwayne Thompson on the first reception. Meister getting subbed in.
This is definitely one of those veteran moves where they say, no, I'm good. Don't sub me out.
It's like Brett Favre or Matt Stafford, You know that they're injured. You know that they're hurting. And yet they still decide to stay and play on a game that is, quite literally for fun. BJ Austin representing the Albuquerque River Monsters getting that first down there. We have essentially a 5 wide receiver set on first down. Washington with a decade in the pocket finds Devin Brooks. 2nd and inches.
That was a risky pass, but hey, when you got a really good arm, a 3-inch window is more like 7 miles long for some of these quarterbacks.
For sure, and even with the likes of, 1 second, Gooden, will he get the first? He won't. My goodness. Sorry, but I was going to say, with the likes of, Raymond Brooks coming at you, it's definitely takes a lot of guts to make those kinds of throws. 3rd and inches, deciding to pass, finds Calabrese for the first down.
And that will be the end of Calabrese's night at the fullback position.
Yeah, I guess they figured the fullbacks were getting a little bit too much love, having both of them in for most of the game, putting Ricky Chambers in at fullback. I'm imagining that on the bench, you have Amani Garrison just itching to get back in the game. Play action, but a flag. Free play as far as I'm concerned. Gain of 10, first down, no matter which way you spell it. And they will decline it, decide to let Gooden get the stats that he earned. First down and 10 once again. Less than half of the fourth quarter to go. Washington under pressure. Sacked for a loss of 8. Michael Gentry. And despite being, in the bottom part of the totem pole of their division, these Brooklyn Bandits have come to play today.
Well, you know what they say. When people don't have anything left to fight for, they fight really, really hard for their pride and honor, or what remains of it.
I'm sure maybe they'll try to seek trade to get what they deserve. Strip sack. Antoine Stevenson coming away with it. And the tides have turned in the favor of the Atlantic All-Stars. Another opportunity here. I think that was our first turnover.
Absolutely, and as I said before, the first team that gets the turnover, well, they're going to lose. The first team that receives that turnover, they're going to win. And unfortunately for the Pacific, they had to watch Jalen Washington go down once more and fumble the ball.
You know, if there's the MVPs of games like the Super Bowl or the championship or the Jugan Bowl. You know, is there a least valuable player award for any of these games? Because, you know, Abitangelo did great when he was in there. Ryan Walton's sitting there, you know, fresh as a daisy, and Washington's kind of hogged it a lot of the game, and he was the reason why the Atlantic All-Stars now have an opportunity to just salt the game away. What
especially
a swat!
With the closing speed on that one was ridiculous.
I felt like I was watching McDonough in last season's All-Star game where it just seemed like he was everywhere, and there he is again. These guys are going to be seeing him in their nightmares.
Hey, when you get paid per win, per Pro Bowl, you'll do anything you can.
Third down, Weathers handing it off to Walker. Walker fighting with all of his might, but all for naught. Gain of 2 yards, and the Pacific All-Stars will call a timeout, as undoubtedly we will once again see Nate Gilroy attempt a field goal. And it will be a slightly longer field goal, over 50 now.
I think Gilroy just asked him to go ahead and false start. He was tired of these chip shot field goals. He wants to show them how far they can kick.
Let's see if that will end up costing them 3 points. Gilroy sneaks it in. 51-yarder is good. He definitely had the distance. Just was trailing on the left side there a little bit. Had me holding my breath.
And now we'll see. Does Jalen Washington continue the veteran holding? Or will the Pacific move on and allow the backup Abitangelo to come in? I do believe Washington had the mindset of if he can continue to play and win, he'll get a larger contract and bonus, but now you're down by 12, and you're the reason you're down by 12. It's definitely not going to be a fun time in the offseason.
Washington still in the game, looking deep to his right. Incomplete pass on first down. And although he seems to be the LVP today, these Columbus Senators, you know, he's got a lot of them on this offense. The defense, you know, a lot from other teams. Devin Brooks, not a Columbus Senator. A Milwaukee Bee getting that huge catch on third down. Washington, Chambers, Michaels, Thompson, and then you have 2 offensive linemen that are from the Senators, Cohen and Trimble. So he has a lot of his friends here, and I think that might be contributing to the fact that he does not want to leave. Another completed pass to Terrence Carroll, and another timeout, the final one, actually, as Pacific still trails by 12, but with 2 minutes to go.
And I'll add this. If you have a backfield of Ramon Gooden, Tavon, or Terrence Carroll, as I misread the name over here with the flag dropped, Terrence Carroll, and you got Ricky Chambers and BJ Austin, and you can't muster more than 15 points, there might be an issue with the man getting a hold of the ball every play.
Yeah, you know, not the best completion percentage. He's got a lot of yards, but a lot of those were on very specific individual plays. A lot of these seem to be into double, triple coverage, you know, and like you said, with a backfield as scary as that, they seem to lean into it early, but as of late, I think we might have to chalk it up to the voodoo magic that is the 2-minute drill formation these offensive coordinators just so love to resort to.
Kind of wild, too, especially when you watch a team that you can just drive all the way, and then they hit the 2-minute, and they go, hey, guys, I got an idea. What's the idea? Go ahead and pass.
Speaking of pass, 3rd and 20, for the Marbles. Devin Brooks keeping it alive, and I imagine this will be no huddle. Another 5 wide receiver sets. Patterson Jr. in right now to represent Tucson. Not to Patterson, but to Fowler. Daquan Fowler representing the Pacific All-Stars and the Iowa Storm, giving them a slight glimmer of hope that they can get this onside kick.
If I was the Pacific, I honestly would just I would bring out McQueen and ask him to drop kick it sideways.
Yeah, you know,
it's a higher chance.
The back spin, the side spin, that can definitely trick these guys more than clumping up all your guys on one side of the field and kicking it straight into the dirt. I tell you that.
Absolutely.
Victory formation awaits the Atlantic All-Stars. Without looking at the stats, who would you say is the MVP instead of the LVP, which I think we both know who that was?
It can't be Nate this year. It was Nate last year. And right off the bat, I'd have to say, I believe it's Paul Wagner that's been playing all game, correct?
Wagner started us off, and then Weathers subbed in.
Weathers, apologies. Yes, Weathers. Yes, of course, as you can see there, 285 and 2 touchdowns as far as passing goes. Man, he made quite the difference. And yeah, there you go, right there. Washington and Abatangelo right there.
McDonough and Gooden representing for the Pacific. More plays, but you see those 42 pass plays. Almost dead even for total yards. Dead even on sacks, and just that one turnover, which honestly determined the outcome of this game.
And I would also say Clemens, by the way, a non-quarterback offensive MVP, has to be the MVP for the Atlantic. You can't have a game and win without Clemens getting that clutch touchdown all the way down the field.
I agree, and I'd be half tempted to say that the MVP goes to Clemens. I think that without him, you don't get those huge plays. I think at least 2 of his catches were on third down conversions. The defensive MVP for, let's not act surprised at all. Matt McDonough, truly the representative of what a defensive player should look like in the NAGA and in Axis football. Wagner and Weathers, a nice little tit for tat there. Great rushing effort. Definitely not as productive as the Pacific rushing effort. But yeah, there he is, averaging 40. The
long of 71, by the way.
Insane. That fumble recovery from Stevenson. Forced fumble from Tristan Johnson. These were truly the game-changing plays. But I would have to say, yeah, Clemens is our MVP today. Do you have any closing remarks on the season? I say it was a great season. It was a one for the record books, and I think that I'm even more excited for next season than this season. And I think that the talent here is indicative of what's to come.
Me personally, I think as well. I think it was one of the best seasons we've ever had. I thought we had a lot of changes around the season for teams going into the playoffs. We had a lot of new ownership coming in. We obviously saw a new champion for the league. No longer will it be hosted by the division hosting the Texas teams. I think, obviously, we had a lot of great standout players. We had a lot of great running backs, a lot of great rookies. And I am also excited for next year. I'm excited for all the new ownership. And, yeah, I think this is incredible. I'm excited for Season 3. Well, Season 4. I'll be in my 3rd season. And, yeah, that's about it on my end.
Very well said. And I think I speak for the both of us when I say, this is Reed Option and Cole. It's that we are very glad to serve you as your commentary crew. And we are very excited to see you next time.